too much dark comb in them, and the queens are not laying. There's not enough bees to keep the beetles packed out. And I said, let's make some of these patties and put them on there. And did. And out of the 90 hives, all of them didn't survive the winter because the queens, the, the, they just weren't any good. And all of them didn't survive the winter, but we had 0 small hive beetle damage. Even from the ones that went empty, and beetles are still running wild down there, 0 damage. And I said, well, what effect did it have on the bees? He said, none that we know of. We put some on healthy hives, and they consume the patties just like they would any pollen patty. And the brood looks great. He said, in fact, the brood may be even better than hives that we didn't put the Grub-X patties on. The only thing is there's a process to making them, and it takes time. And it's quicker and easier to do the Crisco thing than it is to do this. But these patties, it don't hurt the bees at all, and it don't hurt the larvae at all. But it will kill small hive beetle larvae immediately. It attracts, the pollen patties are the perfect place and the perfect attractant for small hive beetles to lay eggs in them. And the beetles will insert their ovipositor, lay an egg in there, and when that egg hatches, it's dead. As soon as that larva hatches and feeds, just the first few bites kills it. And just there's not even any sign of dead larvae in there. They never get large enough to much more than see. But the process is 3.5 pounds of this to an equal, 3.5 pounds of water. And I have it written down somewhere. It's probably written down on a piece of paper up there. Anyway, you put this in a gallon of water and soak it overnight. Stir it up really well with a paint mixer. Soak it overnight. Next morning, stir it up again really well. Pour it through a 600 mesh bucket top filter, and you add to that 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and then make your pollen patties with that. And I have the exact amounts written down, but I don't make the patties and put them on here, but I will sprinkle this on the ground in front of hives just to make sure that the beetles don't. They won't. The larva, when they crawl across the ground that has this on it or has this soaked into it, they don't survive that. Of course, they've already done the damage when they crawl out of the hive, but if you're wanting to kill them before they crawl out of the hive, that's the Grub-X patties are the way to do it. And they, at some point, they're going to be commercially available. I mean, to the public. They just haven't quite figured out how to get around all the legal issues of paying royalties to the company that makes the chemical and all of that.
Where'd you place the patty?
Right on top of the brood nest. That's where the beetles are going to be looking. That's where the attractive food source is for beetles. Dark comb, that's what attracts beetles, and it's protein in it. And you put that right on top of the brood nest. That is more protein than in the dark comb. It attracts the adults to lay eggs in it, and the larvae die.
So ain't the larva moving?
No larva comes out of it. If they don't lay eggs in that, then that larva will survive. If they lay eggs under the cappings, which is that's how small hive beetles overwhelm a hive. Bees will remove the eggs of small hive beetles or larvae if they see them. But a small hive beetle will insert the ovipositor through the cappings of a capped cell and lay an egg in there. Sometimes when you see ball brood, that's why. The bees have uncapped that cell and removed a small hive beetle egg. When they uncap a cell of pupa, they don't recap it. They don't put new wax on top of it. So that's the reason some of it is uncapped. And that's how they kind of go under the radar for bees. and don't get removed and end up sliming a hive. That's also why a hive that is queenless or has a really poor queen is more likely to get destroyed by small hive beetle larvae because there's not enough bees in there to keep it clean. But this is a good ground treatment in front and around hives. And it's not necessarily toxic to honeybees. They're not attracted to it. They're not repelled by it either. But they're it's not like Grandivo that they're repelled by it. They're not attracted to it. So obviously it won't harm them because they eat the patties and feed it to the larvae, and it don't hurt them. It's particular to beetle larvae, any kind of beetle larva. It's not honeybees are Hymenoptera, and they're not Tumidas, and so it's particular to Tumidas and other beetle species, not Hymenoptera. It won't hurt butterflies, Lepidoptera. It won't hurt them. It's just beetles. I suppose there's good beetles. I've just never met one. Maybe Ringo, John, Paul, and George. Maybe, yeah. At least they were entertaining. The only entertainment I get out of small hive beetles is a crunch when I put a hive tool on them. That's one of the most satisfying sounds in a bee yard. Yeah. Well, the reason you see so many when you lift the lid is because you just turned them out of their little prisons. I mean, my first impression when I take a lid off and there's like dozens and dozens of small hive beetles, I'm like, oh my gosh. But what you're seeing is a jailbreak, and they weren't loose in there before you took the top off. No, you got to take the top off. I mean, you can't you can't work a hive without taking the top off. might might have some beetles in there.
It's funny because up our way last summer, like you get a bunch of people talking, and they said they've never seen veteran beekeepers had never seen small hive beetle like last year. It was just like ridiculous numbers. All of a sudden, boom. No
We had small hive beetles here in West Kentucky 3 years before we saw any in South Mississippi. That's counterintuitive. They should have been down there first, you would think. But our bees, and there were a few beekeepers that had seen small hive beetles down there. I'd never seen any. I had 280 hives down there at that time. That was in 2004. Still hadn't seen any small hive beetles. We had hive beetles here. We first ones we saw were about 1999, maybe 2000, and they weren't a devastating problem, but they were an irritation. But before Katrina, had never seen a small hive beetle in our bee yards in South Mississippi. After Katrina, every single hive had hive beetles, and the head of the state inspection service at that time was Harry Fulton, and Harry is he, he's the kind of bee inspector you want to have because he was for the beekeeper. Anything that would help a beekeeper, yeah, he's all for it. He promoted beekeeping, promoted killing anything that's bothering bees, however you need to kill it, and he was real laid back and uh, low key about everything. But I saw Harry, and after Katrina, I saw him in South Mississippi and at a bee meeting, and this was November after Katrina in August, and I said, Harry, how's your bees? And he said, oh, about like they always are. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them dead. That was Harry in a nutshell. And he always kept a pretty big bee yard, 150, 200 hives. And I said, well, do you have any hive beetles? He said, oh, yeah, I got hive beetles. I said, you know, I never had a hive beetle in any of my hives down there around Tylertown until Katrina. And I said, what happened? Did it just stir them all up? And he said, Katrina was a great equalizer for all of us. He said, all of us that might have had one problem but didn't have these others, we just shared. Everybody's got all the same problems now. And he said, I don't know how it happened, but I know that you can draw a line before and after. So,
Are there any theories, Kent? Any theories behind that?
Yeah, my theory is, and it's Harry's theory also, is that during a traumatic event, uh, the beetles, a little bit like Africanized bees in a way, and they're from Africa, so you know, go figure. But a little bit like Africanized bees, when something really traumatic happens, they just leave. And my theory anyway was that low pressure coming in, storm coming in, insects know these things way before we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the beetles left the hive, and they did get caught up in the air current, airflow, and they
Got spread everywhere.
Got spread around.
Yeah.
But beetles, this is just stuff that you read. And when beetles first came around, I read everything that you could get your hands on about small hive beetles. And one thing I read was that they can detect a hive within 5 miles. They can smell a beehive that far away. And they will fly 35 miles in one little flight. And they get up in the air like that with all the air current. That makes the scent of the hives spread out too. That's kind of a no-brainer. You know, they found the hives. And after we got small hive beetles in South Mississippi, I was at Dwight Gunner's place, and he had a man that worked with him some at that time named Jim Henready. And I always enjoyed talking with Jim because he had some really good euphemisms that he used that I could steal. And he said, what do you know about small hive beetles? And I said, I know I hate them. And we talked about it a minute. He said, how do they get from one hive to another? They don't hitchhike like Varroa, do they? And I said, I've read that they just fly to a hive, that they can detect a hive from a long way off, and they just fly to it. And it was at the end of the day, we sitting drinking a Coke and talking, and he said, how far do you reckon one of them would fly? And I said, I have read that they'll fly 35 miles. And he said, nodded, you know, you could tell he was thinking. And he said, how'd they figure that out? Did they catch a small hive beetle
Exactly.
and tag it and let it go and then find it 35 miles away?
Right.
Or is it just two yokels like me and you sitting here drinking a Coke saying, I bet that SOB will fly 35 miles? I said, it's probably the latter.
The latter. Yeah.
That's research. That's called research.
That's research. That's redneck research.
Let's put it in a book.
Yeah. And once it gets in print, it's got to be true. It's like on the internet. It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Hey, we're getting a pretty good crowd here, Kent, and there's still some people coming in. So I'm gonna make my announcements real quick and share with your friends. If somebody comes late, I can't tell you how many times they've asked me about what goes on, but I'm fixing to tell you. So.
That's a West Kentucky thing. Fixing to tell you.
Fixing
to
Now, if I was in Texas, I'd be fitting to.
Fitting to tell you.
Yeah, fixing to.
There's a cloud on the horizon. It's fixing to come a storm.
That's right.
Know? That's West Kentucky.
Anyway, thank you for coming. My name's Chuck Collins. I'm the president of the Lake Barkley Beekeepers Association. Of course, this is Kent Williams. and we appreciate Kent and Valerie inviting us all to his home and to his farm. And hope you like goats, hope you like chickens, but certainly we all like bees. That's why we're here. And how many new beekeepers here today? Brand new beekeepers. Awesome, fantastic. This is why you're here. And there's a couple things going on, and I always tell this story. And I'm sure some of you've heard it before. When I first was involved in this school or helping out, I said, well, we need an agenda. We need people to be where they need to be when they're supposed to be there, so we can have people anticipate it. And I got scoffed. I got laughed at. And the people did whatever they wanted anyway. So I quit doing that. What's the point? So there's really a couple some simple things that are going to go on today. And like I said, share this with your friends. This morning we're going to have one or two groups, depending on how many people gather up, that want to go do basic hive inspections. And that's you holding bees, looking at frames of bees, brood, food, finding queens, things like that. That's for new beekeepers. From that, we're going to move into making splits later in the morning. The folks that are going to do the basic hive inspections are where's Joe? Joe.
Way
back there. Joe Dudley and Chris Noss. Where's Chris? Chris over here. Both back over there. So we'll meet right out here as soon as we're done. So grab your bee suits and follow the smoke, as it will, because they'll be lighting some smokers. And we're going to do that this morning. Of course, Ken will be in here all day talking. And when you're tired, you want to sit down and just come in here and rest, and might be able to rub some wisdom off. And if we can,
that's the idea.
We're going to raise queens too.
Yeah, we're going to raise queens too, and on top of talking.
Yeah,
on top of that. Okay. But we're going to be doing queen rearing all day here. After lunch, Al Karim is here. He's going to do his dousing for bees. And it's exactly what you think it is. And if you've never seen it before, it's quite fascinating. So that'll be after lunch. Jordan Haynes up at the bee barn. I don't think he's here. He's probably holding down a fort somewhere. This afternoon, he's going to do swarm traps, but he's also going to do a mite testing and talk about mite medications and things like that. So he's going to take samples of bees and count mites, show you what varroa mites look like. We hate those things, and we want to kill them all. So it's a great opportunity to learn how to do those things and what you might expect, especially in your first year of beekeeping. And one of the things that not having an agenda lets us do is lets us be flexible. And why that's important is that we want you to ask questions about something you want to see or you want to do, and drive that class or that experience out in the bee yard to what you want to learn. So don't be afraid to ask questions. But that's why the flexibility is there. We're going to spend all morning in the bee yard and all afternoon if we want to, if we have to, so you can get the answers that you want to get. A couple more important things. Bathrooms are right here. Everybody just passed them. There's a hand wash station there. Lunch is going to be about 12 o'clock. And Kent, I don't know how many times you use that triangle bell thing there for lunch, but my wife's going to start screaming about noon. And she'll ring that bell, and we'll all gather up to the front for some more announcements and things like that, too. Of course, I have our beekeeping supplies from the bee barn up there. I'll be up there. Tracy Phillips from our bee club has done some shirts that are absolutely fabulous, and that I'm going to go home and snuggle with because it's got his face.
It's got
on
Ken's
it.
face on it. I'm getting one of
That
those.
kind of creeps me out a little bit.
I'll be picking one of those up.
Cool. Zach English right behind us makes some fantastic top bar hives. He's got a couple up there to look at.
Nice.
He's got one here with bees in it, and he's going to about 11 o'clock before lunch. If you find him right out here, he will go through a top bar hive with you as well.
There's Jordan's behind you.
Sorry?
Jordan's behind you.
Oh, Jordan's behind me. Cool. Yeah, hey, Jordan.
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll call you that much.
And I'm not going to start over. Yeah, I'm not going to start over. Tell him to get in here.
And at some point
It's Bob
today,
Moore's buds, probably. Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
at some point today, we're going to install a nuke in a hive. Also,
Fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic.
Okay.
My mother-in-law Annie's in charge of some raffles that we have going on. We have a whole hive kit with the Nuka bees. It's painted, assembled, ready to go to your house. and we're going to give that away after lunch. We're going to have what do you call them? Door prizes after lunch as well. So as we gather for lunch, we'll give out some door prize tickets so everybody has maybe a chance to win something. Not only are we raffling off the whole hive kit with a nuke, we're raffling off also just a nuke. You don't have to be here to win, so we've been selling those all week. It's going to be a pretty day, so like I said, just make sure that you're wearing a veil in the bee yard. It's at least something to cover your face. We haven't lost anybody yet that we can prove, or that you can prove. But this is a farm; it's got a lot of spots on it, so just remember that. What else? KSBA folks are here. Scott and Jessica from the KSBA, Kentucky State Beekeepers Association, great group of people. Certified Kentucky honey trailers here, and that's a program that lets people know that your honey that you grow is really from Kentucky. Go up and see them. They've got some free stuff to give away as well. What am I missing?
Hives for Heroes.
Hives for Heroes is here. Will Rayburn is here.
Austin P is here, Chuck.
Sorry?
Austin P is here.
Oh, Bob Moore and his group here. Group of rabble-rousers come all the way from the... there you go. All the way from Austin P to join us today. So, were you guys the ones just rolling up here? So,
Yes, well, okay. Yeah, well, they've been rolling up for about an hour.
Okay, good, very good. So we're gonna have like I said, fun day. It looks like we got a way bigger crowd than we did yesterday because it rained. But hey, don't worry about it. We'll still get the bees if it rains. Today's lunch, I think, is lasagna and some different things.
Fish.
Meat lasagnas.
And fish. Yeah.
We got fish and
Saw and beans.
So we'll have a big time. Any questions? Any questions?
Behind you. Way back there.
Could you repeat that? I can hear anything.
Shut up, Al.
Oh, jeez. Chickens are too loud.
Yeah, hey, ask somebody. Share with your friends. That was my first thing I said. Share with your friends.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Any other questions? Any real questions?
So I actually did miss the morning agenda because I did miss the announcement that the announcements were happening.
Oh, good. It's the same as yesterday, Gordon.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm doing something in the morning. That got announced.
The agenda is there is no agenda.
Checks in the afternoon or in the morning?
I can do them both.
Okay, we can do mite checks after the hive inspections.
Sure.
Yep, be fine.
I'll tag along with a group of hive inspections.
Fantastic.
And I'm gonna check one of the ones that's got the Roxanne strips in it today.
Right.
Cool. Let's go. Switch pieces.
And-
Yeah.